Hey, what's up guys? JZNES back again with another video. Today we're talking about Little Samson, finally, of all games, right? Yeah, you remember when I was JZNES? I still am, but you remember when I used to do NES reviews? Like 3 or 4 years ago or whatever the fuck that was? It's been a minute. Anyway, well maybe it wasn't that long ago. Maybe it was only like 2 or 3 years ago, but haven't done one in a minute, but here we go. We're gonna do an NES review. It's because I beat so many games on the friggin' NES. I beat like 100 and some games for that system. It's a lot. It's probably the system I've beaten the most games for is actually the NES. Funnily enough, and I love the NES, of course, but this is one of those games that it's got a lot of high praise behind it. You know, a lot of people. It's really divisive because it's like, oh, is it worth the money or whatever? Of course, it's not worth the money. Nothing can be worth, you know, fuck, I don't even know what it's going for nowadays. $1.50 or something, probably. Like, I don't know. Let's look it up, actually. Let's look it up right here, live during the review. I don't even know what it's going for. I don't even know if we can find one on eBay, but let's just look it up. So, but anyway, like, yeah, man, this is like one of the last 3 games I had to get to complete my NES set back in the day, and it was actually third to last. The other 2 were, the fuck is that game called? Nobunaga's Ambition 2. I'm looking over on my shelf. I have a complete in-box copy because that's the only one that they had. Oh, fuck. $2,000. We've got $1,500. Yeah, that's about what I was expecting. In-box, $5,000. $1,800. Yeah, so, I mean, you know, there's a lot of them here, though. It's not... well, some of these are reproduction. Yeah, okay. That's no good. But, anyway, it's a really fucking expensive game. One of the last NES games I had yet to collect because, it was so expensive and I just had never seen it really, outside of conventions and whatnot, which I was never really willing to spend that much on it, but at, pretty much the last fucking video game convention I went to, which was 2 years ago. God, I don't know what I've been doing all this time. What the fuck's happened? Like, I guess it just wasn't... I don't know. There's nothing left to really do at, like, a video game convention. Last year we did Star Wars Celebration, so I guess there was that. We've been just trying to make trips and whatnot, and we had a whole big trip planned out for this year, and the whole Game Chasers movie and all that, and now that's all delayed, so we'll see what happens there. But anyway, 2 years ago, we went to Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I don't know if I talked about it then. I might have. Maybe that's 3 years ago. Was that 3 years ago? Fuck, I don't know. 2 or 3 years ago. So this is a minute ago. Let's put it that way. I'm pretty sure it was 2 years ago. But, so anyway, pretty much the last video game convention I went to. And I had 15 games left to get. Or, 15, something like that. It might have been more like 20 or... Because I know I got like 12 of whatever... No, it was 15, because I got 12 of those games at a game store, which, funnily enough, I think was the same game store who I ended up buying Little Samson from. I'm not actually sure about that. No, it wasn't actually. They sold me a different one now. Or did they? I don't know. No, I think I just showed that shit to him later or something. Yeah, because I remember there was a different guy who sold me Little Samson, and then the last 2 games I had to get were Nobunaga's Ambition and, funnily enough, the Miss Pac-Man Namco version, just because I just never, like, picked it up, because it was just one of those games that it was always like, but I could get something else, like, kind of thing. So it's just pretty funny. But those were the 3 last games I had to get at that, on the floor that day, and as much as there was a Miss Pac-Man and a Little Samson there, I almost fucking missed out on Nobunaga's Ambition 2, which would have been ridiculous, but I actually ended up finding one in box, so I had to, like, way overpay for it, but not a big deal. I still have the box and everything. I could probably sell that for a decent amount of money. But, this isn't a review of Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2018. This is a review of Little Samson on the NES. I don't keep copying that thing. I did that last video too. Anyway, so we're talking about Little Samson though. So I got it then. It's the most I've ever paid for a game ever. I wouldn't say it's my most expensive game. Well, yeah, I think now it is my most expensive game. The only other one that even comes close is Panzer Dragoon Saga, which I actually got for like about half the price of what, well, half the price of what it goes for, and then half the price of also what I got my Little Samson for. So they'd be like equivalent in value, but I'm not sure which one's still up there. Let's look that up too, and we'll see. But anyway, this is like, you know, within my top 1 or 2 most expensive games here, and I just haven't sat down and gotten to it yet because I really just didn't want to. I don't know. It was gonna have to be like a special experience or just the random day like today where I felt like doing it. Panzer Dragoon Saga. All right. So, all right. Oh yeah. So complete like $1,800. Fuck me. Yeah. They're about on par with each other, I would say. You know, but there's less copies of Panzer Dragoon Saga sitting up here, the English version anyway. So, they're about neck and neck, but I would say maybe Little Samson is just slightly above Panzer Dragoon, but it's a really close neck and neck battle for most expensive. I'm not trying to flex here on these games, I'm just saying that they, these are 2 expensive games. I still have to get around to Panzer Dragoon Saga because, I still have to get around to the Panzer Dragoon games, which I did play, but I just never beaten yet, technically. I don't know if I'm going to either, because they're just kind of hard to get through. But, you know, they were alright games. But anyway, I keep getting sidetracked. We want to talk about Little Samson right now. And what I want to say about Little Samson is that I agree pretty much, you know, there's a lot of reviews out there and whatever, but I agree with pretty much a lot of them. It's a pretty staple game for the NES. You know, it's too bad it's like one of the most expensive, the most, well, I mean, the most expensive licensed game that didn't get recalled or something to that effect. But at some point, it kind of just gained this reputation of being the most expensive NES game or whatnot, or like the most rare NES game, which it's really not. I've actually seen more Little Samsons than I've seen like Kid Clown and like probably more than I've seen Flintstones. Actually, I saw quite a fair amount of Flintstones. I've only ever seen that one Kid Clown. I didn't even see that myself. My friend got that for me, so pretty crazy, you know. Like, there's some games that are definitely like I've only ever seen like once or twice. Shit, I've seen Motor City Patrol, a game I was haunted by until that same fucking day when the last 15 games or whatever. I actually bought it at that store. I ended up passing on it once because it was in kind of shitty condition for like $30. Then like I find out it's worth more than that, and then like the next time I saw it, I had actually run out of money. It was actually Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2017, I believe, the first time I went. Whichever one was the first time. I think I only ever went twice, or maybe I went 3 times. 3 times? Not sure. I think just twice. But anyway, so yeah, so I ended up seeing it there again, like tucked away in a corner at the very last day when I had 0 money. So, you know, didn't get it then, and then so I ended up getting it there. But my point is, I've only ever seen that game 3 times, and I've seen Little Samson a bunch of times. You're always going to find a Little Samson at a convention, at least one, or you're going to see it. It might get bought up, but you're going to see it, you know, because it's there, because it's that game with that reputation that somebody wants, and they know, whoever has this thing knows that it's going to sell, kind of thing. So, yeah. So, yeah, much like Flintstones, too. That's another one where it's kind of gotten off the rails, where everyone kind of knows about it. But I'd say Little Samson is the most infamous example of this outside of, like, stadium events and world championships. Games that don't really count towards the complete set, you know, the licensed set or whatever. But yeah, you know, that's just kind of the backstory, I guess, behind Little Samson. How's the game, right? The game is great. It's a great game, and I really enjoy the game. And that's what I was kind of getting at with all of this. You know, a lot of people are only hung up on the value and how much it's worth, and that's why it's such a popular game. But really, at the end of the day, the game deserves to be known for the game and the gameplay, because the game is actually a great game. How many times did I say game there? Like, jeez. Anyway, it's a fun game. The there's a game. Okay. There's basically the gimmick is it's it's another 2D platformer side-scrolling affair. Really really late in the life cycle. That's why it's so rare. But it's Taito, which created some. Well, Taito and Natsume worked on like like JZNES Cogswell Caper, and like I actually mentioned this in that review, along with Bubble Wobble Part 2 and something else. I don't remember which other game I was talking about there, but Taito put out a lot of these like late release NES games, and they were all really pretty good as far as I can think of. They were all Panic Restaurant, that was the other one, which I should probably get around to playing that too at some point. I'd really like to get back to playing some of these NES games, but they just take so long to master and they're frustrating. But if I just put a few hours in each day, that might work out to be better. So Taito made a lot of great games on the NES, and especially the later ones were just some of the most defining like games for the NES. They're some of the best looking and best playing games on the system. This is definitely one of the most graphically impressive games for a side scroller. That is, it's very colorful and just well defined and everything. It looks super good for its time. And what's cool about it is also the gameplay, because the gimmick is that you have 4 characters. So you got Little Samson. He throws bells. He's just kind of your standard character. He's not too tall. He's got good agileness, so you can duck, pretty well. And his thing is he kind of has like a Ninja Gaiden thing where you can kind of climb walls or whatever and wall jump and all that. And then you have a dragon, which is my favorite character. The dragon can fly and kind of float and stuff, kind of like Gargoyle's Quest. But the thing is, if you kind of get stuck in the air at like a certain spot, it'll just kind of hover you above whatever deadly pit you're above, and you'll probably die. But and he's also got like a charging fire breath attack, which is like really powerful, and it's really helpful against some of the bosses. Like one of the later bosses, it really just takes him out super easy. But that's the cool thing about the bosses too, is like the gimmicks between the characters. Each one is kind of pretty good against a certain boss, or you can really use any of them, but like one of them's always going to be just a little bit better to use against that boss, just because of how the boss is set up or whatever. So that's cool. They kind of get in all of the characters to be useful, which is something I really like, because a lot of these games that do like the multiple characters, it's like there's always one that's like the worthless one, and I'll get to that in a minute, about who I thought was going to be the worthless one, but didn't actually end up being the worthless one, because it's pretty cool. But then there's a golem who is kind of big and bulky and cumbersome, but you can walk on spikes with him, which is a super, super useful thing. So the gimmick is more so whenever you come to spikes, you can just kind of have him, and he's got good endurance on him versus the other characters will take like hits more so and stuff. But yeah, I really like the golem character too. He's got like a punch that's like a stretchy punch, and depending on like how you hold the button, it'll go farther or not. So his punch is really powerful too. So if you can kind of cheese a boss with him, like, yeah, like you're gonna get in some damage. Not always, but for the most part, a lot of like bosses and enemies and stuff are flying, which you can't really jump super high or any of that. So he doesn't really have good agileness or agility. He doesn't have good agility, let's put it that way. And then there's the 4th character, which is a mouse, which I thought, oh, okay, this is going to be useless. What's cool about the mouse is he can squeeze himself into tight spots, and then he can also climb on walls, and even on the bottoms and tops of, like, well, not on the top, like the bottom and the sides of the wall, whereas Samson can only sometimes hang off of certain roofs and whatnot, but this, like, mouse can, like, climb, or, like, he'll like stick to the walls basically and just kind of like go up vertical paths and stuff. So that's pretty cool to begin with, but also he's one of the most powerful like attacks if you know how to use it, It's more that he has a lot of the same attacks, so that can be really handy. He's got these little bombs that he places. Think like Metroid or something, like Samus's bombs or whatever. And if you know Samus's bombs, you kind of know you can do some cheesy things with that too. So there's certain bosses where that's a really good way to kind of... You can only really set like 3 or 4 or something bombs at a time. But if you can set them fast enough and they go off fast enough, they're going to do a lot of like rapid damage. So it's often not the most powerful attack, but it's like often a faster way of taking care of some bosses if the mouse can be useful. But the trade-off is the mouse has like a really small life bar. Like the Golem's got a pretty big life bar. Like Samson starts off with like a medium-sized life bar, and the dragon starts off with a pretty good-sized life bar. But the Golem always has the most, and he has the most forward potential to get the most life. There's this mechanic in the game where you can get these little orbs or whatever that are like power-ups, and they permanently increase your life, and they're all over the place. Like sometimes enemies will just like drop them when you kill them or whatever, and which is cool. Sometimes they drop extra lives and potions. Potions, like whichever character you're on at that moment, you can fully restore their health once if you have that potion on them. Like so if you grab the potion as them, you can fully restore the health. So that brings me to another point, is that you can switch characters anytime, like in mid-air if you want, which is really cool because if you're like falling towards spikes, just switch to the Golem, and then when you land on the spikes, you're not going to get damaged, that kind of thing. Or if you, what was I going to say? Oh my god, fuck off, people. I'm trying to do a little Samson review here. If you, yeah, so you can switch in midair. So like, let's say you wanted to get that potion for a different character is what I'm trying to say. You can just switch to them, and as long as they can stand on wherever the potion is, you're good to go. You can just grab that potion, you're good to go. But what's cool about that gimmick about the health upgrades is it's kind of like an RPG system almost if you think about it. It's it basically adds to your max HP or your max health or whatnot. So you'll have more pegs of health every time you grab one of those. They're not filled in, but you have more potential to get more health, which is cool. And those actually stick around throughout the whole game. And that's like, wow, like this is cool. This is like a neat thing, like, I can't really think of another platform or another game that really does anything like that, So the idea is you want to switch to a character who doesn't have their full health yet or whatnot, to upgrade their health. But each of them has kind of a max health setting. Like I said, the Golem has the most, the Dragon has like the second most, Samson has like the third most, and then the Mouse is just like 1 bar, because they actually go over to like a second bar of health on all the other guys. It's just 1 bar, and it's not, I don't even think it's even a full bar of health, but that's because his, because he's small and whatnot, but also the rapid bombs are a pretty powerful power-up, so you kind of have to balance that. So the game is very balanced in terms of its gameplay, which is great, and I really appreciate that. And also, the difficulty is really balanced. Now, of course, I played it on easy mode, because I do that. And I know there's a final boss when you play it on hard mode or whatever, but I saw it, and it didn't look like it looked cool, but just saying, like, so, but yeah, but I felt like it was like the perfect difficulty. It wasn't too easy nor too hard. It was just perfectly balanced in terms of difficulty. I really appreciated that. And so anyway, with the 4 characters, it kind of makes you really try to think about the situation that you're in and like what you want, where you're gonna need to get out of that situation. Whether it be an enemy that's like a certain place, or you can take out easier with a certain guy or whatever, or if it's like a long pit or something, you want to probably take out the dragon so you can like fly over it, and that kind of thing. So like no one character is more useful than the others all the time, although the dragon is pretty much the best character, but I don't feel like it's unbalanced, if you know what I mean. Like, I use the dragon a lot. That's just my favorite character to use, was that, because he could fly and he could he had a charge attack and all that, but everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses, and I think that's really cool, and I think it's cool that they balance that out and whatnot. So yeah, and then, you know, they just do a lot of cool platforming stuff with that throughout the way, and then the bosses are all really cool, and it's just all really well done. And there's like multi-stage boss fights, so like you'll fight like a wizard guy. He's just kind of the warm-up round for like the big boss. Just like a big dragon guy like that has this one-hit kill thing that was pretty tough, but then when you figure out you just kind of have to dodge his attack, it becomes a lot easier, and you can kill him with basically anybody. But I just thought that was cool. You know, there's a lot of cool, really interesting enemies in the game and whatnot. And so yeah, balances out. It's pretty neat. That's pretty much all I have to say about like the game. It's just a really good game. You know, think like Mega Man crossed with like Ninja Gaiden. You have like almost crossed with like TMNT, like the first one where you have the 4 turtles and you have to like switch between them. And I know they had like unique weapons or whatever, but like here, and you have that here, and of course, but they all have unique skills here too, which is cool, you know, and it's just really well done. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I gotta say about the gameplay. It's really good, really solid. And then like the music is great, but the like one thing is that each character has their own theme. So when you're playing as each of those characters, their theme will play. So that can get a little old if you didn't like a certain theme or whatever. I thought they were all great. That was just a little thing, you know. It's like there's no like level themes. It's just like that is the theme with whatever character you're playing as. So that's interesting. But you know, Taito always has like great music though. So, but there's a boss theme too, which is pretty great, and just all the music's pretty good. It's cool because they have like opening stages for each of the characters to kind of get you acclimated to how their powers work and stuff. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, like it's just a really solid NES game, you know, and like I don't want to go on and on about it. I already went on and on about like how much it's worth in the history and all that, but like it's just a really good game, you know, and I know not everyone can get their hands on it, you know. There's a way out there for you, emulators or whatever. So just go for that method, you know. That's cool. It really shouldn't take you more than a few hours to kind of get through. But you know, I like that. I think it's a game that has a good amount of gameplay, but it's not like it's overstaying its welcome. And then, you know, of course, there's an easy mode and then a hard mode or whatever, the other mode, like normal mode, and I don't know if there's like a third mode, like a hard mode or something, but like, you know, so there's replay value there, and especially if you want to get like the final boss and all that, like you're gonna have to play on the harder difficulty and whatnot. So that's cool. So there's replay value there. You know, and if I play it again, I'm definitely gonna probably do it on emulation myself. I don't want to wear out the cartridge because, you know, valuable or whatever. So I'm gonna keep that in as pristine condition as I can. So but yeah, just, you know, it's a really great game, and I just wanted to talk about it because it's underrated. Maybe it's not underrated. God, underrated is such a word though. It's not underrated, I don't think anymore. I think it's overrated, honestly. It's rated. Let's put it that way. It's not underrated. That was a stupid thing to say. It's not necessarily underrated. It's a gem. It's a gem. Take that, 2 dudes in a nest. It's a gem. But it's a great, it's not a hidden gem. It's a gem. You know, it's a game that it's only underrated in the sense that most people know it for its value rather than the game behind the value, you know? It's actually like a really decent game. Like, there's a lot of shitty NES games that they're valuable, but they're not good, like Mario's Time Machine and fucking Color a Dinosaur and shit. Like, I don't even want to look at what those are going for, you know, like, fuck. Like, but this is a game that's valuable and is good to play. You know, and I like that, and I think it's not like NES brutally difficult, fuck you in the ass hard. It's like it's like a reasonable challenge, which is something I like. I like that it's a reasonable challenge. So, it's just it's a good game to kind of dust off one afternoon, and well, hopefully there's no dust on it. You should put it in a protective case like this. Dust off metaphorically some afternoon and just put it in and have a great old time with it, So, so yeah, for me, I'm gonna give Little Samson an 8.7 out of 10. Out of 10, haha. And that's gonna be that. And I like Little Samson. I recommend it. Don't go and buy the physical cart because you don't really need that. But yeah, it's a great staple NES game that you should definitely play. So until next time, this has been JZNES saying keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ out.